bringing you another paranormal video. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Angela. I talk about all things paranormal and beauty here. So if you like that combination, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and thumbs up this video. I do post new videos every single week, anything from makeup, skincare reviews, and scary stories. So like I said, if you like that, I would love for you to join our YouTube family. So I did take a poll on Instagram for today's paranormal video, and a lot of you voted to hear real scary true stories involving the Ouija board. So I am going to talk about that today. And before we get into that, I did want to address this because one of my very first paranormal videos was reasons you should never play a Ouija board. If you want to watch it, I will link it up here somewhere. But I got mostly positive feedback, but I did get some people that were kind of upset with me, and I can kind of see their side why. So I just wanted to clarify something, because a lot of people that study the paranormal or even use the Ouija board on a normal basis reached out to me. Some commented and said that they didn't like my video because they felt that I was trying to scare people into this fear mindset of never exploring the paranormal and never trying to use the Ouija board. And that if you know what you're doing, it can be a very, very positive experience. I am not denying that at all. And so I wanted to clarify something, because the point of my video, my Ouija board video prior to this, was to share my experiences and why I believe you should not play with the Ouija board if you are uneducated and you are not going into it with a serious mindset to achieve something positive. So unfortunately in the media, the Ouija board is hyped up as this game that is not that big of a deal. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the people who get together to play this game go into it uneducated, unaware of what doors they could open, just being silly, playing games, asking silly questions, and even taunting spirits sometimes. And sometimes even giving it an invitation into their lives. Most of the times not even being aware that they are doing so. And this is because they do not know about the Ouija board. They are not educated on it. And they didn't research it beforehand because it's not something they take seriously. Now, this is a common mistake, and I'm not faulting anybody for this because I did this when I was younger. And I believe that that's why I've had a lot of paranormal experiences over my life, because I feel like I opened a door that I didn't know that I was opening. Those are the type of people that I am cautioning to use the Ouija board. That being said, if you are somebody who is very, very passionate about the paranormal, it intrigues you, and you go into it with a different mindset, you study it, you research it, and you feel protected, you know what you are doing, and it adds value to your life, and you have positive experiences, and you don't feel threatened by it, by all means, that is completely different. So if I offended anybody in any way, I did not mean to. That is what I was trying to say in my video prior. So if I was unclear, I do apologize for that. That being said, I do still believe that no matter what your intentions, you never know what door you could be opening, because you don't know what could possibly be lingering when you decide to make contact with the other side. I believe it is always dangerous and always a risk, no matter how no matter how educated you are on it. And I don't know. If you disagree, I totally respect that. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this week's paranormal video. I am going to be reading some scary stories that people have had with the Ouija board. And I don't know how many there are going to be. I found an article that had quite a few. I only read a couple to make sure the stories were good, but I didn't read them all because I kind of wanted to react with you guys on camera. So let's go ahead and get into that. So this one is called, Are You Human? To start mine, I'll have to tell my mom's first. The one and only time she played with it as a kid was enough to last a while. She was with a few friends, all of them in their late teens, and they got their hands on a Ouija board. They set it up in the basement and started asking the standard run-of-the-mill questions. Is someone there? Yes. Are you alone? Yes, it answered. Do we know you? Yes. They then asked to spell its name, and it started spelling D-E-V-I. They didn't let it finish, and they all ran upstairs. Fast forward almost 20 years. My mom and I, a few Halloweens ago, decided we'd give ourselves a spook and made our own Ouija board out of paper and a glass. We started to ask the same standard questions. Is someone there? Yes. Are you alone? Yes. Do we know you? No. That piqued my interest. I then asked the one question that I probably shouldn't have. Are you human? No, it answered. We packed everything up and shut it down awfully quick. I did the best cleansing I knew of, and for a few weeks after, we had weird experiences in our apartment, so we called a medicine man to cleanse the apartment. So that's the end of that story. And this story is just an example of, people that should be cautious when going to use the Ouija board. She even said they wanted to give themselves a spook, so they were kind of just doing it for fun. And it's really not meant to be played for fun, and you never know who you're going to be contacting on the other side and what door you could possibly open. So that's why I think you should be careful. The next story is called The Missing Friend. When I was little, my mom took out a Ouija board and asked my brother and I if I would like to play with it. She is generally an atheist as well, but she has some odd tendencies. It's difficult to tell if she legitimately believes in some of the things she says or if she is just messing with us, because she has pretended to believe a lot of odd stuff in the past just to get a rise out of us. We said yes, setting up the Ouija board in the center of the kitchen table. It started out pretty funny. Someone was obviously moving the glass thing, making words like poop and stuff like that. Did I mention we were young enough for that to be hilarious? But then my mom said, let's get serious, and tried to contact someone. Here is where it gets weird. A friend of hers had recently gone missing. He had been missing for a month or so, and nobody knew where he was. When we asked who it was who we were talking to, his name was spelled out. Let's just say it was George. Since I genuinely don't remember. When we asked George if he was my mom's friend, he said yes. My mom got visibly upset and asked where he was. In a lake, was spelled out. It was extremely upsetting, and we stopped immediately. My mom tried to be lighthearted about it, and since I was young, I believed it was no big deal as well, following her lead. About 2 weeks later, they found George's body. He had been hit by some car or a train or something on some bridge, and his body fell into the nearby lake. Though it was more like a very large pond, it was a reasonably remote place, so nobody had found it for a while. The next one is called Don't Hide From Me. A few years ago, my friends, a group of girls, decided to try this out with a group of guys. We were all in the 12th grade at the time. My group of girls had messed around with it before, to varying degrees of success. Well, this time, it was my hands on the planchette with my other girlfriend. The thing was moving crazy fast, faster than I had ever seen, and seemed to be getting quite agitated by the group of guys we were with, who were joking around and not taking it seriously. It essentially told them to shut up and stop talking. I told the guys, seriously, please stop being rude. I'm kind of freaked out. Anyways, because I was getting nervous, one of the guys took over. He was a bit more serious about it. Almost immediately, the thing spelled out, "Don't open the door." Well, we were all in the basement and there was only one door, so we all kind of looked over at it nervously. Because I was getting anxious, I took the blanket and kind of hid my face. Immediately, it spelled out, "Don't hide from me." Ooh. Everyone was freaked out. The guy who had his hands on the planchette literally started to cry. He wanted to take his hands off, but we have this rule that you don't take your hands off until you get to say goodbye. Everyone wanted to stop, but it took about 10 minutes of asking dumb questions until the thing finally slid to goodbye. Some of the guys speculated afterwards that it meant don't open the metaphorical door of the spiritual world. The reason being is we told them to never ask for a sign, or else it kind of lets the spirit roam free outside of the board. Yeah, I believe that too. Before that guy took over, they kept asking for a sign, only for me to cut them off mid-sentence and tell them to knock it off, so this made some sense. Looking back on it, I am very much quite atheist, so not entirely sure what to make of the situation, but I won't touch that thing ever again. That's how much of an impact it left. This one's called You'll Get Burned. I played with a Ouija board several times many years ago. Got mainly dark and scary replies with names we didn't know. One claimed to be my uncle though. We started to do it all the time, every day with a homemade board. A few weeks later, I was in a club, saw a friend I hadn't seen for maybe 2 years from across the room. He literally came running over to me with a strange look on his face. He said, "I can't believe it's you. I have something strange to tell you, but you have to listen to me." Before I could answer him, he went on. I went to see a reader. She told me that she had a message for a friend of mine, a woman. She said your name. She told me to tell you to stop playing with the Ouija board because you are going to get burnt. Does that make sense to you? I was speechless and really scared. I don't know if that was for real or how else it could have happened, but I sure as hell never touched one again. This next one is called It Followed Her. When I was in my first year of uni, we started playing with a homemade Ouija board. There were like 5 of us. We contacted some spirit whose names I'm glad I have forgotten. And as we were talking to it, the doorbell rang and one of my friends had to go as her dad was there to pick her up. We didn't close the session by saying goodbye to the spirit as we had no clue and just threw the paper away. Now the girl that had to leave early started acting strange and didn't hang out with the rest of us as much. A few months later, she told us she went to get a cleansing as she wasn't feeling like herself, and told us that the moment she stepped out the door, the witch lady that was going to cleanse her totally freaked her out and told her she had a spirit with her, and used the very same name that we had seen on the Ouija board months before. She told my friend that the spirit was following her as we didn't close the session and attempted to cleanse her without any success. She tried to commit suicide about 3 times after this, dropped uni, and went to live somewhere else, so I've lost touch with her. Wow, that one gave me the chills. That's actually really sad. The Porcelain Doll. I have a terrifying story about a Ouija board. I got a call from my cousin who said that he, his brother, his dad, and his best friend were using a Ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they took a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy and placed it in an adjacent room face down on a pile of towels. My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense, and he went to take a shiz. His dad and brother and friend started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was, who is in the other room? It just started spouting random numbers, and when my cousin came back into the room, his brother said that it wasn't working, that they were going to put it away, and he showed him the answer to the last question he asked, and he said, dude, that's my social security number. Then they started to talk to whatever was spewing answers out. It told my cousin he would die in the Air Force. At this point, they tell the entity they are communicating with to prove itself. Then it spelled out the word doll, and they were like, what the F? They opened the door to check on the porcelain doll they had laid in the other room, and when they opened the door, the doll was standing right up in front of the door, staring right at them. Everyone freaked and ran out of the house. His best friend burned the Ouija board, and I think he temporarily went nuts for a few months. My cousin, for some reason, then joined the Air Force and is on the base in Europe now. The day I was going to die. We all asked it a question that only the person asking would know the answer to. It would answer the questions. One question that somebody asked was, what was the name of the boat I went on a cruise on when I was 6? It answered, we played with this thing forever. We had cold spot experiences and would place a candle where the cold spot was, and the candle would burn sideways, not straight up and down. One night we all asked it how long we had left to live, and this is where it got scary. Everybody asked, and they had 50, 60 plus years left. I go to ask, and it says 10. I ask 10 years, and it says days. I pretty much shiz a brick at this point. It said I was going to be killed in a car accident by a girl named Emma. We would ask it 3 days later, and it would say I had 7 days left. Ask it 2 days later, it said I would have 5 days left, and so on. I'm freaking out at this point, carrying a Bible in my pocket and wearing a big cross. I finally tell my dad, and he doesn't believe me, so I made a board out of a piece of paper and used the CD to show him. It worked, and he flipped out and told me that I didn't have to go to school the day I was supposed to die. I didn't go to school, and nothing happened. It held me down and whispered in my ear, I have no evidence, and I do not care if you don't believe me. I've used a board with the results and let something into my home, and have been physically assaulted by this entity. It started out with that feeling like you're being watched, and doors closing, and footsteps on the hard wood when you're home alone, and progressing slowly into being kept awake by something shaking the bed, or pulling off your covers, sometimes even whispering your name. The board would disappear for days on end, and then show up in places you would never have put it. I became obsessed with it. Then it was a black mass in the corner of the room, or the silhouette of a man watching you from the doorway. After that, it escalated pretty quickly. I had my hair pulled, fingers pricked, scratched, choked, held down in bed while this thing whispered in my ear in what could have been only Latin. We had our house blessed, and the bad thing hasn't shown back up. Just the normal occurrences now, but I will never play with one of those boards again. Woodchipper Accident. My great aunt has never married, and when I asked why, my dad told me the story. Apparently when she was 16, she had a pretty serious boyfriend. When she used the Ouija board, she asked if they would get married, and it said no. She asked if they would break up. No. Asked if one of them would die, and it said yes. And when she asked which one of them, the board just said goodbye. A week later, he was in a woodchipper accident at the mill where he worked. June 24th, 1987. My girlfriend told me this story about an experience she had with the Ouija board while in high school, sometime in 1986. She had a friend named Johnny who was suffering from CF or some other debilitating illness, who had recently been hospitalized as a result. Both she and her friend, Shelley, visited Johnny regularly in the hopes of keeping his spirits up and for a quick recovery. One night after visiting Johnny, they were at Shelley's when they decided to try out a Ouija board. After a while, they started communicating with a spirit who seemed to know a lot about them that it really shouldn't. After some questions about boys and general questions one would expect teenage girls to ask, my girlfriend decided to ask about Johnny and his condition. The board quickly spelled out 24 June 1987. Johnny won't have to worry anymore. And then the board said goodbye. My girlfriend and Shelley were so convinced that the board was giving them a date for recovery that they actually wrote the message down and sealed it in an envelope. The following year, on June 24th, it turned out that Johnny indeed no longer needed to worry about his condition. It was the day he died. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed these creepy, true Ouija board stories, and that is the only reason I like to throw caution out there. I don't want to, scare anybody into not trying something that they genuinely feel that they want to try or that brings positivity into their life. That is not my intention at all. I just want people to be aware that when you are trying to contact anything on the other side, whether that be with a Ouija board or any type of paranormal game, you don't have control over what might respond to you. Even if you're looking for a response from a loved one, you might get a response from something else that you don't want a response from. And so just keep that in mind, just be careful and do what you feel is best for you. That being said, if you did enjoy this video, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button below because I will be posting a new video next week. I do a combination of spooky stuff and beauty related stuff on my channel. So if you like that, again, I would love for you to join our YouTube family. And with that being said, I will see you guys next week. Bye.